Hello, guys. I'm Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran. I'm here with another beautiful, lovely. Sometimes she will make me a sandwich wife of mine, light of my life, Yanzi.
Hi.
That's it. That's all we got. It's a little high. Today we are talking about, I guess you would call it the decimated comic book industry and how the shifting sands and where they're going. So let's get into it. I look into the crystal ball. I see a little bit of doom and a little pinch of gloom, gloom and doom, whatever it is there. People say comics are selling better than ever. It's like, then why is all this happening? And we're going to talk about it. Why is IDW losing Transformers? Why is Dark Horse up for auction? Like, there's a lot of moving on what I would call like the B level movers and shakers in the comic book industry. Of course, Marvel is Marvel, DC is DC, but then there's all these other small companies up under them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to be one of these companies and how you're basically in part of an environment, and you're not the alpha. Marvel, DC, they make up the biggest part of the market. What does it mean if you're a comic book publisher and you're just one of those little wedges in the pie? So before we get into it, please look down below, guys. Hit like, subscribe, ring that bell for notification. As we do cover comic news, we cover pop culture news on this channel. So let's get into it. What we got? First off, IDW. They're going to lose Transformers. They're going to lose G.I. Joe. We talked about this in a previous video. This is one of the few reasons obtaining these licenses that a lot of comic retailers would even turn to the IDW section of the catalog.
That's the interesting thing, right? The only reason why people even look at IDW is because they have all these internationally recognized properties. We talk about things like My Little Pony, Transformers, G.I. Joe. And well, this is not their first major loss. Back in August, they lost the Marvel Action Kids line.
Mm,
And then subsequently lost the Star Wars All Ages line, which
mm.
interestingly, Dark Horse picked up. And now they're losing their what you would consider their other kid-friendly lines, which is Transformers and G.I. Joe. So I think it's pretty much in the crystal ball. You can see that My Little Pony is going to be gone from their catalog next. So
Right.
what does
Now,
this look like? It basically looks like they're losing their entire catalog at this point, if you ask
well,
me.
and we're skating over one important fact: who holds the license to Transformers, GI Joe, and My Little Pony? One company, Hasbro. So obviously,
Oh.
Hasbro is pulling the plug on IDW. Now, I've talked about this before, but you have to understand Transformers, and I'm a big Transformers fan. The comics are very important. You're like, I just like the toys, I like the cartoons. The comics serve a very important role in helping juvenate, like figure out some of these characters, how they would come from a Japanese cartoon into the American continuity, how they maybe fit in. And believe it or not, the comics actually sometimes develop toys that then Hasbro can make. So the comics, whether or not they're making money, is not really all that relevant to Hasbro. They just need to exist because take it from a big Transformers fan. There's tons of Transformer characters you've never heard of, from all the cartoon iterations and whatnot. And every time there's a new cartoon, there's a new Transformer, and they don't really ever fit into the evergreen G1 Transformer. So sometimes the comics figure out a way to, get a character from this and shove into that, and then it gets recycled and reused in maybe a Michael Bay film or something like that. So the comics for Hasbro actually serve a very big purpose. Some of the deals, though, aren't all that great as for the comic book publisher, as Hasbro acquires and keeps, from my understanding, for artists that work for this type of stuff. They don't get royalties on any type of reprint. It's a really bad deal. Though I know a My Little Pony artist that basically they just want to be a My Little Pony artist because they made a shit ton of money off the originals. Where are these licenses going? Because I don't believe that Hasbro has a less interest in these comics. Actually, if anything, I think they're content with losing a little bit of money on comics as long as they renew copyright, trademarks, and maybe even develop new storylines and whatnot. John Barber, one of the first editors I ever had working at Marvel. This is going way, way, way back, like probably like 2000, I don't know, 2004 or something like that. But really nice guy. Stayed friends with him throughout my time in comics. Why is he leaving IDW now? He has a very big track history in comics, and that means IDW, I believe, because of his history with Transformers as writer and editor and having a good relationship with Hasbro, I believe that this license is going to another publisher. Right off the hand, I would think that is Dark Horse. It is not. It's probably going to be a company like Marvel Comics. You're going to say, well, that makes no sense. Well, Hasbro makes Marvel Legends figures. Hasbro owns Transformers and they make Transformers figures. Why not co-op together and maybe even do a little bit of a Transformers like Spider-Man whatever mashup like they've been doing with like Ghostbusters and Transformers. They had the Ecto one like as a Transformer, or like they'd made an X-Men jet like turn into a Transformer. I mean, they've already been sampling this type of stuff. But imagine if Marvel Comics got the Transformers license back. Now, why would Marvel do that? They've been doing this with quite a few things. They're doing it with Ultraman and I think Warhammer. They got the license to a couple of these comics. They don't own these books, but they're willing to pull it. And why would Marvel want to do it? Because they're basically trying to pull in a fan base that maybe particularly doesn't read comics or even read like Spider-Man comics. That these are just people that it serves a purpose. Like if they can pull these people into a comic shop, maybe they'll sell some Spider-Man books. I guess I don't think that logic holds, but it probably holds in a board meeting at Marvel Comics. And this is getting really muddy. Why is all this movement happening at once? Because we're at the end of 2021 and people are readjusting what they see publishing being like in 2022. These companies like Dark Horse, who are putting themselves up for auction, again, IDW, Boom, I would put them in it, even Image. These companies, these comic companies only sell books off the profits of Marvel and DC Comics. Okay, when a comic book retailer, there's a big event and they have some excess profits because it's selling really well, the retailers usually they take those profits and they order more stock because that's what else you do. You reinvest into maybe some new customers, maybe people are spending more money, maybe your long pull list guys have more enthusiasm. They've had some good comics they've digested lately, and maybe they feel like trying something new. And that's a perfect time to take your profits and reinvest in your business. The majority of the profits from any comic book shop come from Marvel and DC books. That's just the way it is. If there's a Hellboy movie or if there's a Sin City movie, sure, they're making lots of Frank Miller money. They're making lots of Mike Mignola money, but chances are like these books have historically only existed based off of Marvel and DC making a bank for comic retailers to even invest. These books could not exist without that type of 3-month investment ahead of time in the Diamond catalog. These companies know their time's up, is my professional opinion in being friends with retailers. They can see that Marvel and DC Comics are not doing that well. Nobody even talks about a Superman or Batman unless they're bisexual right now. Nobody's talking about a big event or a big story thing. It's all about identity politics. Identity politics, even if they sell, they're only going to sell that one issue. And that one issue is not going to float. The profits of that one issue are not going to float Dark Horse. They're not going to float like IDW. And these guys are going to have to downsize. Now, you could either try to cash out. And right now, there's a lot of streaming services looking for content. They're looking for libraries of stories that they can maybe, make a TV show or something off of. And in the case of Dark Horse, that's exactly what I think is here. Now they have an investor that invested in the company. I even think it's a Chinese investor. And usually people that invest in the company, they're just wanting to flip the company. That's it. That I doubt they want to invest in comics because they love comics. That's the sad truth when it comes to these corporations is there's just money there. And that's why they're there. AT&T did not buy Warner Brothers because they love Batman comics. That if anybody told you that, they're lying. Okay, they like the idea of making Batman movies, Batman T-shirts, whatever. Comics is the lowest thing down on the totem pole as far as profits go. But it is the one thing. If you did buy and acquire, you own everything. You own hypothetically every Batman T-shirt. You own every Batman lunchbox. And in the case of Dark Horse here, they're trying to position themselves and posture and fluff up a little bit and flex and think that you're getting all of this. The sad truth is Dark Horse doesn't really own Hellboy. They just own the production rights and the publishing rights, but they actually don't own the character. Mike Mignola does. The same goes for like Sin City and The Goon and all these other things. So these are interesting times to watch people try to readjust for the upcoming year, which will, be what I think everybody's sobering up. I think 2022, the comic book industry is going to look a lot smaller. And it's a domino effect. If Marvel and DC, if they're leaner and meaner, and if they're just making books for like, this ESG type government loan, and it's not even about comic book sales, these companies are going to die because there's no profits for comic book, retailers to order their books. So, they're either going to downsize drastically or sell off.
I'll say it's a good thing that we have people advising all these comic book retailers to diversify and invest in something else besides comic books, because even they know that there's something fishy happening with the industry.
Right. Just make good comics, guys. That's all you got to do. Make good comics, good stories, believable protagonists, fighting bad guys, getting a little dare and do going, and Inglorious Rex 239, getting ready to hit 239,000. Thank you guys for all the support on this indie comic venture. Now we'll leave you guys with a trailer for Inglorious Rex.
Please excuse me, Your Honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm a Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom, boom, boom. Major look, huh? Yeah, this one is for the books. All these chances I